a regime change agenda that is going on here. There's an agenda to remove the ANC from power.
I must be honest, I was completely thrown. I thought I was living in the 1970s at the height of the Cold War. It was completely bizarre. It was paranoid, and it was almost riven with deep suspicion. And then he keeps saying, we'd be happy to give you the evidence. I would be flabbergasted if there is any evidence about what external agents want in South Africa and what interest they would have in regime change and what their rationality would be. What kind of regime would they want in place and for what purpose? So it just sounds deeply suspicious and riven with a lot of kind of innuendo. Thus far, any evidence that they have mustered is always about donor funds, foundations, but by and large, those foundations fund local South Africans. So it's local South Africans who actually do the work that they accuse people of when they want regime change. So I found it completely bizarre. There were other things which he said which were appropriate about the organizational health, state of organizational health, but even there were serious silences and absences, and we can come back to those.
Lukhona, is this regime change agenda a very real threat? Ebrahim is very skeptical about it. Is perhaps a threat inside the country over the issue of employment, the massive army of employment that the unionists will often go on about?
But let's first deal with this. Regime change, as per the Secretary General's diagnostic report, is to say there are Western countries that are interested in infiltrating South Africa, as Ebrahim is saying, external forces, with the view of buying strategic people who can lead mass movements to agitate for the fall of the ANC, let's put it that way. So he says, for example, a Zuma Must Fall campaign is a proxy of the fall of the ANC. A Fizz Must Fall campaign is a proxy for the fall of the ANC. But what this does is that it commits a crime in this sense. It undermines the South African public to say that they don't feel grievances enough to a point that they want to communicate them, enabled by the Constitution, freedom of expression, freedom of association, and the freedom of talking strongly against the ANC government. We will characterize you as being part of regime change. And I think for the South African public, what they ought to do is say, if within our constitutional right and our democratic ethos, we want a change of government, which is absolutely legitimate, because another problem that he's creating is to say the ANC should govern in perpetuity, but it must govern in perpetuity under duress, and South Africans must be under duress to vote for the ANC, because if they voted out, then they would have participated in regime change. Now that is completely undemocratic, that undermines our constitutional values.